All right, so this is a two-way Dometic fridge that we have in this motorhome here. You'll see the different options available at the top of the fridge. It's always important to remember that these fridges are very difficult to cool down. You want to put all your foods and condiments in cold if you can. On a really hot day, if you put them in at room temperature, it might take the whole day to even start to cool down. So you have to consider the capacity of the fridges. There is a cold level on the top. If you have it to the coldest and it's not too hot of a day, you might find that you have food that's freezing in the back. So play with that as you see fit. Probably a good place to start is between 3 and 4. You'll also see the little switches on the left here. So for the DC off and on, DC off is where you want it to be at all times. If you're driving, you'll put it on DC on. This is only for your auxiliary battery. So the only time you should be using this is if, for example, you're driving and you don't have access to your propane. If ever you're not plugged into power and you have DC on, you're going to end up running out of battery. So typically speaking, you can use auto if you're going to be plugged into power. Basically, the fridge will decide what the best decision is for keeping it cool. It'll use propane only if there's no access to electricity. And then if you know you're not going to be plugged into power and you're using just propane, you can just switch it to gas. This is a pretty surefire way to ensure your fridge gets cool. Sometimes this is the best way to cool it down at the start until you've had all the items get to a temperature that's acceptable. Okay, so we are hooked up to power, so we're going to turn it to auto. Again, keep this DC off, because that's only when you're driving to use your auxiliary battery. And you'll notice it'll use power because I'm hooked in. And if I were to come off of power, or if we lost power to our source for some reason, it would automatically switch to gas, and you would see it say LP. And if I want to just be on propane, I put it to gas. Typically, you'll get this little X. It takes a bit of time until it recognizes that it's good to go, and you'll see that LP is lit up here. After you've had your fridge on LP for a couple minutes, and if you don't see the check light, we're just going to double check and make sure that it's running from the outside. So you can follow me, and I'll show you how to do that. So you'll come around the driver's side of the motorhome, and right behind where your fridge would be on the inside, you'll open it up, and if you listen close, you'll hear it running. You can also open this little latch, and you'll see the pilot lights on. The first thing you always want to do is turn it off. Make sure your propane is open or that your power is plugged in, whichever one you're going to go for. If it's power, you can go back to auto. If you know that you're using propane, try it again and give it a chance to boot up. The last step when troubleshooting loss of power to one of your appliances would be to check your breaker box. You might find that one of these breakers is blown, but at the best of it all is to turn them all off. Wait about 30 seconds and then flip them all back on. You'll hear everything start back up, ideally. And if you are comfortable exploring the idea of looking at your fuses, that's something you can do. But if you're not comfortable with that, give us a shout and we can walk you through it. Alright, so when you're checking your fuses, you want to make sure to use pliers and only take out one at a time. You might need to give it a good tug to get it out. And you'll see here that the fuse, this is a good fuse, so you can see that it's completely connected. A burnt fuse will look like it's broken, or you might see some discoloration in between.